Today, you're going to learn why it's not too late to start over. I moved abroad when I was 35 years old and started over. So if you're having doubts, this video is for you. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Lily. As you know, I'm a former attorney turned travel journalist. And once in a while, I talk about life abroad and making conscious moves. I'm here today to share a little bit of my experience because I'm hearing a lot of folks saying, is it too late for me? Can I do this? Can I move abroad? I'm 45. I'm 55, I'm 65. Well, let me tell you, 15 years ago, I was a full-time attorney in DC and I had a very cushy job that paid me $250,000. And I left all of that behind. I just felt completely eclipsed. I felt like life here was a rat race in the United States. And as you know, I've since come back 15 years later for very valid reasons, like being closer to my family, and I'm perfectly happy with it. You know, I've done my time abroad and all of that. But at the time, I knew that I needed a change of scenery. And I even remember the first time that I went from the US to Jamaica, I remember sitting on the porch outside of my cottage in Negril. All I had was my one suitcase of clothes, a fan, because there was no AC in those little cottages. But I was so happy. I was away from the noise. I was listening to myself again. And I knew that the future was full of possibilities, even though I had absolutely no clue what I would do next. But just being there, just having hopped on the plane, having the courage to say, hey, I'm spending the next 5 months in Jamaica was really, really empowering. Reclaim my creativity, change my career. The idea that it's too late for you to invent your life after like 30, 40, 50 is a complete lie. And hopefully by now, there's so many videos out there of folks who've moved abroad, retired abroad. It's becoming more common. But it's not just about moving abroad, right? It's having the courage to literally shift your lifestyle, shift away from expectations that society might have where you live, and just doing what you want for your own happiness. Moving away from the pressure to be productive, reconnecting with yourself again. And that's not just woo-woo stuff. It really is real. When I moved, initially, I had no clue what I was going to do, but I had savings. I had aggressively saved for 2 years before I moved because I knew that I would need the financial cushion while not working. And if I remember right, I saved about a 6-figure amount. And so I was mentally comfortable. So you have to figure out what number it is that's good for you that will let you relax for a while, even if it's just 6 months. And then I would ask myself, what is the worst that could happen? Before I left, I was like, what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work out. I hate it. And I come back, which would be fine. I wouldn't be completely destitute. That's kind of how you have to frame it. Go away for a few months, see how it goes, and the path will open. Starting over somewhere else, and by the way, it could also be another state in the United States if you want to, doesn't erase anything that you've done in the past. It just presents you with a clean slate, a place to think, clarify your mind, and to start over. You don't have to have a plan. You're just there without a to-do list, maybe without old friends, but making new ones. It just pushes your limits and it puts you in a space where you're really confronted with who you truly are. You know, all the layers are stripped, and that is a truly powerful thing. Reinvention is everything. After 40, it is true what they say, life only gets better. And it's even better when you can go abroad if you want to. In fact, I can't think of a better phase of my life, of being more sure of myself, of being more determined to make the most of my years than after the age of 40. Some of my most fulfilling moments abroad as a travel journalist, doing some incredible activities and meeting some incredible people and making an income online, just writing and telling my stories from those places has just been the richest part of my life. And all of that happened after 35 and 40. You don't need a perfect plan. I didn't have one when I left. I had no idea what I would do next. So when I left, I didn't know I was going to be a freelance writer or that I would be able to make an income online writing about travel or the places that I was experiencing. I had absolutely no clue. I knew that I loved travel. I knew that I loved cultural immersion. I picked a place that would give me that, and a place where I would really learn the culture and be a part of it. And I went there with my camera gear, knowing that I wanted to teach myself photography as a hobby. And the way that things unfolded pushed me towards the path that I was supposed to take. I started getting hired for photography gigs because I had the gear. And then from there, I realized that people wanted stories from where I was. They wanted to hear my experience. They were amazed that I was doing this. A lot of my friends in the United States were just blown away that I left everything behind to go and reinvent myself. And so I started sharing and I started showing a side of Jamaica, for example, where I first went. That was the side that most people weren't even seeing at the time. You know, this was like years ago. It was outside of resorts. It was more immersive. It was engaging with people, engaging with cultural events. And through all of that, not only did I feel such a high sense of happiness and satisfaction, but I was also producing things that were inspiring other people. I started getting messages of like, wow, Lily, I think I'm gonna leave my job as a stewardess for JetBlue, and I'm gonna go to Bali and teach English. Things like that started happening, and that's when I started realizing like, wow, I'm having an influence on people, and I'm just simply sharing the moves that I'm making that my heart is telling me to follow. Living abroad is not an escape. It is not flawless. You will be confronted with some of the darker sides of your personality or the things that you've been challenged to solve within yourself, even at home. Sometimes people say, wherever you go, there you are. Well, yeah, to some extent that's true, but at the same time, at least you're in a refreshed new environment. But you will have to confront some of your weaknesses. And there were many moments of like, I think I've mentioned this before in previous videos, some loneliness, some imposter syndrome moments where I'm like, what am I doing? What if this is the biggest mistake ever? And by the way, this was a regular question that would pop up every 6 months or like, you know, until I became sort of full-time in the Caribbean for a while. In the beginning, I was doing it just in seasons. I would go for the winter, be a winter bird, come back to the States, work as a contract attorney, make my money that way. There are a lot of people who ask like, well, what about the money part? And I think that's what most people worry about. But you'll figure it out. First, have a huge savings plan, have a huge cushion for while you're away, and then do it seasonally if you can. I mean, there was a time when I was even coming back and renting a room at one of my very good friend's apartments. She had a second room that she wasn't really using. It turned out super handy for her. She charged me a small amount. It turned out handy for me because it was affordable, and I was only there for a few months, and then I would go back to the Caribbean to do my storytelling. So there are ways to work things out. All you have to do first is just leave it all behind, save, go. Of course, this is just me sharing from my own experiences. There's plenty of other advice out there. I'm not a professional coach, but I can share what I've lived through, what I've managed to build. And I'm living proof that you're never too old and it's never too late for you to reinvent your life. You don't need to have professional writing skills to tell your story or even to be a really super skilled orator, to be on a YouTube channel. You learn by doing, guys, and you learn by learning from people who have the skills. You could do YouTube University, or you could sign up for webinars, download guides, follow people like me who have made a living writing online, which, by the way, you're probably thinking, well, you were a lawyer, so that was probably super easy for you. Not really. Writing a legal brief is a completely different animal from writing about travel. Travel, let me tell you, is completely different. Writing about destinations. And my specialty is actually conscious travel, sustainable tourism, and telling stories about places that infuse culture and heritage and highlight the meaningful experiences that benefit the communities and the places that I visit. And I teach that. I coach people in that as well. And I also coach writing. So if that's something that you're interested in to make money as an online writer for different outlets or for your own, you know, let me know. There's a link in the description for my newsletter. I'm going to be announcing soon some of the webinars that I'm going to put up. You'll get some emails as well with some free tips. So little by little, I started writing, my stories got picked up, and I just followed my gut. I followed my gut. It wasn't a money rush in the beginning. It took a while. Everything takes a while, but you will build that expertise. And if you're retired, I mean, how fun would it be to just tell your stories and inspire other people and teach them how you did it? We need more of our story. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We need more of us out there telling our stories, because here's the thing. I'm actually going through another transition right now. So if you are over 40, 50, 60, know that your story not only matters, but it is powerful. You have more guts, perspective, and chutzpah to make it through living abroad than you even know, or to making a decision that you want to make, a bold move. You have it. Trust me. The fact that you've reached this far in life alone is proof that you can make it. I've made it. You can make it. And people need more honest voices. They need more stories like ours to be out there. We need to show show that it's not an age thing. And ageism is rampant in the United States and around the world. So enough with the excellence, enough with the worries, enough with the imposter syndromes. If this resonated with you, make sure you sign up for my list, come back, put on the subscriber notification bell, and stay tuned because I've got a whole lot of content all about starting over, making money, writing online, and of course, continuing as well with my podcasts, which give you more insight on destinations, culture, identity. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to hear what big move you're going to make next. Make sure you leave it in the comments. See you guys later.